Okay, getting started with the Jackal flash. It'll be the stage 193 stock pulley with the off-road module. The software is pretty straightforward. You load it up. I go in there and I clear the DTCs. I was actually looking for the ability to read the DTCs, but for some reason it's not in there anymore. I watched a video previous to this to familiarize myself with the software, and that guy was able to read the DTCs. But for me, I just clear them. Go back. You want to go to program ECU. So yeah, you go to programming. It tells you to turn your car on but not start, so hit the remote start or push the start without your foot on the brake just to turn the ignition on. Looks like I'm pretty low on oil. I'll have to take care of that another time. You don't need oil for a flash. You need oil when you run the car after the flash. So I'm going to go to program engine, and the thing comes up and it asks you first, last, email, and cell phone. And then once you choose that, it reads the VIN and the serial number from the module, which is the part connected to your ODB2 connector. And then you go to program engine. You choose your different options, your modules. Like I said, for me, 93 octane, stock pulley, and off-road. Off-road for catless. Once you put in your information and you go to continue, this is when you get to choose the modules. So see here, your binary is production or off-road. I'm going to choose off-road for catless. I'm not catless, but the O2s are not in the cats. I've moved the cats further down line. And then here, stage 1, 93 stock pulley. All right, and then from there, you just click next. I am double checking absolutely everything, because the last thing you want to do is have accidentally misclicked and not notice. So for here, I go to upgrades, and I can't believe Burble Tune's a thing. No Burble, no upgrade to the high flow fuel pump, high pressure fuel pump, low pressure fuel pump, throttle body. I don't have any of that. Loaded up, off-road module, next. And then it's going to begin to flash. Now when it begins to flash, it's going to take your modules offline from the CAN bus system. That is going to cause errors. A lot of errors. This is getting started now, and you can see behind the status ring that it's actually telling you what it's doing. It's flashing sector 1 of 4, so there's 4 sectors to the ECU, which means probably 4 partitions to that particular hard drive. And immediately when this kicks in, I get hit with an error that I got PTSD behind. Transmission malfunction. I am not going to lie about my heart slightly skipping as I saw that. I knew it was coming. I don't like that. I don't like that error message on the dashboard of an Audi. I also got tire pressure monitor system, which gets reset during this procedure, and that's not a DTC you could clear. You have to go for a drive for that to reset itself. And this is going to take around 22 minutes for the flash. And you just be patient. Past the initial modules getting taken offline and all the statuses coming up on your dashboard. Post all that, it's going to be pretty uneventful. If you never flashed before and you didn't know that was coming, I can imagine that'd be pretty nerve-wracking. I originally had an A3 from 16. I had it in 19, and I put a Unitronic Stage 1 Plus 93 flash on it with the whatever. There's only one TCU tune provided by Unitronic, or at least at the time there was. And that's back when you can flash Unitronic at your house. They've removed the ability to do that. So I've got a Unitronic cable on my shelf that's a brick at this point. But yeah, I was not ready for those errors, but I kind of figured when it happened, you have to remove the modules offline and program them. So it's only obvious some stuff's going to show up. What you don't want to do is panic and pull any of the cables out mid-flash. I couldn't imagine the feeling after you did something like that. That would be equivalent to losing power during the flash. So flashing ECU and TCU in a vehicle is no different than a BIOS firmware update to a PC. There are low-level firmware updates you could do to cell phones, but most phones are over the air. Usually, if you've ever created like operating systems or modifications to operating systems for a cell phone, you'll do some of these low-level flashing, and testing and working out different kernels, which have the potential for huge problems if they go wrong. So it's not like when updating Windows, it's like updating the BIOS that your hardware runs on. And same rule applies. If you lose connectivity during the flash of a BIOS or a low-level firmware such as this, you have a pretty high chance of bricking the hardware device that you're flashing the firmware to. So in this case, you would potentially brick your ECU. I don't know how resilient car ECUs are to mistakes. I think the best bet's to not even allow the potential for it to happen. This is one of 3 procedures I got scheduled for today. I'm going to do the flash, then I'm going to change the spark plugs. Then I'm going to, and I got to show the Quattro Gecko. Jason at Next Gear sent that Quattro as a little piece of lanyard to the third job I'm doing today, which is new S4 logos for the brake calipers. I'm going to tag him in the Instagram post. So hit him up definitely if you have, like me, faded paint going logos on your brake calipers. He actually CNC machines new plates to cover them. Amazing guy. He's actually the guy who introduced me to Matt to end up getting a Jackal flash to begin with. I was actually not ready to tune the car. If you followed along, I've just finished building the car. But it has been running a bit rich and rough on the stock maps of stock tuning with the cats removed. That was the main reason for wanting the flash, to kind of correct the tune. Actually let the car know, yeah, you need to look for different parameters at this point. So basically a stock recalibration would have been fine for me, but stage 1, here we come. It's almost to the, it's 40, can't tell, 43, 47% right now. Working its way to 50% of the flash. And you do want to be careful. If you're in the car as I am right now, I got a cable coming across my lap, plugging the laptop into the wall, and I have the USB cord going the other way over my lap, down until it'd be 2. So if I were to readjust, say, my knee position and my footing, there's a chance I can yank the cable out, which, like I said, horrible outcome if you were to do something like that. Just be mindful of everything around you while you... safest bet would be to hit start on a laptop and get the hell out of the car. But I like right now I'm looking at, I believe, sector 2 or 4 being flashed. Or is it, are we at 3? Oh, we're already on sector 3 at this point. I did not see the transition from sector 2 to 3. So I'm not sure which one was small, because we're halfway through and we're on 2/3 of the sectors involved. So either sector 1 or 2 was relatively small. Once again, I believe those are just partitions to a hard drive. Now that's showing you the cable next to my foot. How easy it would be to accidentally remove that. For sure, you don't want to do that. I'm a bit over 60%. All quiet in the car. Nothing's going on. Nothing's making any more error noises. No beeps. Just initially when you first start it, you'll start throwing your error codes. And like I said, everything goes quiet from there. The flash takes off. And what you're waiting is for that program flash successfully. And guys, if you know nothing about next gear, I highly suggest you look up Jason, because there's some pretty nice products you can't get anywhere else coming down the pipeline. Also, on one of his updates on Instagram recently, I saw the sign he made for Jackal. Spectacular looking sign. I know Matt and I'm going to be excited to have that sign on their property, because it came out looking amazing. Currently, I have the faceplates for the front brake calipers for the logos, and they haven't arrived yet, but I have the 2 side markers supercharger logos, but he's added the Jackal head in between the skewed square rhombus. Is that a rhombus? And I'm pointing out my headliners actually beginning to sag all underneath this headrest or the sun visor. But that's the least of the worries, because the rear of the car, as I turn around, the rear of the car looks like a 90s Lincoln. It's disgusting back there. I have the new headliner in. It's suede, black suede foam back. Today's not the day for that, though. I have enough to do with the tune. The second job of the day today is going to be spark plugs, and the third job is going to be the faceplates of the brake calipers. And like I said, I also have the supercharger with the Jackal head logos coming for the side on the fenders of the car. I'm going to replace the stock logos, supercharged logos. Those are starting to frost over and have the white all over the red, bringing it to a dull pinkish color. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them, and at the same time throw in that nod to Jackal. And in the next order, I'm going to get the front grille and rear trunk badge that are just for Jackal. I'm not going to have S4 included in it. Those will be represented on the side. They also make a fuel relocation kit, and that's probably something else I'm going to be grabbing down the line as well. So we're almost to 100%, and I start wiping my dash because I clean my car constantly. This is one of the nicest vehicles I ever owned, and I'm going to treat it as such no matter what condition it's currently in. And each step of the way, I'm working to bring it back to the factory brand new. The exterior will be last. So we're at the finish line now, almost at 100% mark. 97. And this sector 404 just kicked in, which means it is a very small sector. Sector 3 looks like it was the largest sector on the ECU. I booted Windows for this. I primarily run Fedora 44. I don't use Windows at all, but I have to boot back in for VCDS. Most of the functions of VCDS work in Linux under Wine. Security access codes do not. So the flash finish, and it tells you to turn the ignition off, then hit OK. And when I turn the ignition off, I wait for every beep, buzz, and sound coming from the dashboard to quit. When it's all quiet, boom, OK. The next bit of instructions tells you to turn the ignition back to on without starting the engine and click OK again. There's going to be like a 10-second countdown. Then make sure you don't touch the brake pedal. Push to start. Get the ignition alone on and hit OK. And that is going to complete the flash, and everything was successful. So from there, I'm going to go back into the program menu and notice the TPMS sensor is still flashing. The only way you're going to fix that is drive the car. So now we're going to go to program transmission. And I'm posting the raw uncut, the entire flash, so that way anybody that's curious can know, have a temper their expectations on what they have happen when they go to flash their car. Like I said, if you're first time and you don't know any of this, it can be nerve-wracking. I had the A3 from 16 originally, and I flashed that to stage 1. Tree fell on that car, rest in peace. I ended up with an Audi Q5 with a 2.0. I never even considered tuning the Q5, but I got the S4, so now I'm back in the game I left years and years ago. I've been stock for about 5 years. Now you choose a binary for the TCU as well. I think you get the same exact menu as the engine program, but they don't have the options for the TCU. So for the binary, there's only one binary. It's production. And then for the actual TCU flash, what I was not expecting, there's like 7. I don't remember exactly. I mean, I think it's like 7 choices in there, and I was hung up for a second because I wasn't prepared to make a choice of them. There's stage 1 low launch, stage 1 low launch with AMAX shifting, stage 1 high launch with AMAX, and like 3 other ones. I don't remember the other ones. I picked the first one. The DSG is obviously the weak point of the S4 platform if you don't have the manual transmission. I figured the first one was like the least, I don't know if aggressive is the right word for it, but I just wanted to smooth over stock. That's it. This flash is going to take far less time than the ECU flash, and this screen is showing flashing sector 1 of 2. So instead of 4 sectors is the ECU, the TCU only has 2 sectors. So after sitting through the ECU flash, this one should be pretty easy. At this point, you should know what to expect. And there's actually no warnings when you start the TCU flash, like when you do the ECU. You don't get the transmission malfunction. You still have the TPMS, because like I said, you're only getting rid of the TPMS by moving the car. You have to drive down the road. At 17%. Smooth, like I said, moving pretty fast. I think all in all, between the ECU and TCU, it took 22 minutes, and that's with me panicking at the choices of the TCU flash, because I knew what to expect and I knew what to choose for the ECU. I assumed there was just one TCU flash. I should have known better. And I'm not complaining on having choices. The previous experience I had flashing, there was no choice. I just wasn't prepared to make a choice. I should have done a bit more research. All right, so we're approaching the halfway mark already, and nowhere near the time invested as the ECU flash. So yeah, headliner is the next major repair I have zero experience with. But if I can do the DSG, I'm sure I can do the headliner. I just hope it doesn't come out with any mistakes. If it wasn't for the flash, the spark plugs, because I bought the spark plugs recommended by Matt on the website. The spark plugs and the caliper plates. I just don't have time to start a headliner. I want 2 days for the headliner in case shit. I only get 2 days off a week, and today's the first one, so I only leaves one more day, and I don't want to do the headliner inside of a single day. I think that's setting myself up for failure. So we're at 75% of the TCU flash, and we're still on sector 1, so similar to the ECU flash, the second sector of the TCU flash is much smaller than the first, because we're at 3/4 and still on sector 1, which means the second sector, second partition, is less than 1/4 the size of the first. That's pretty meaningless. It's just, as somebody used to work at creating custom software for computers, phones, and everything else, I find things like this interesting. And we're almost to the finish line. Let's see. Like I said, if you're looking in the background behind the percentage, it's giving you a play-by-play. So it's on sector 2. I didn't see the point of the actual change, but it's on sector 2 now, so very small partition. And that's it. Clearing DTCs. So it clears DTCs before pre and post flash. And flash complete. Once again, it's asking you to turn the ignition off. Let all the noises, everything inside the dash quit. Then click OK. You're going to have your 10-second countdown timer. Gives everything time to settle. And then boom. Now I want you to press the ignition. Once again, foot off of the brake. You're not starting the engine. And then, okay. And that's it. Now your TCU and ECU are both flashed together, and the only thing left to do is start the engine and go for a test drive. Although there's going to be a cut before the engine started because, as I said before, the car is hooked to a battery tender. So I'm going to disconnect the car, then start it up and see how it is. When you first start it, you're going to need the car to settle all the sensors. The car's got to take in what's going on and calibrate itself. So if it's rough, that initial start, don't panic. So this is post tune and post brand new spark plugs installed. I went with the plugs recommended by Matt. First thing I noticed is a check engine light. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Threw a check engine light the first time because when I changed my spark plug, somebody forgot to put the boost temperature gauge back in. A lot smoother idle. A bit of a rough idle without that temperature sensor. It does idle low for a cold start, eh? That's the first thing I noticed, is that idle's pretty low. Actually, now I don't know when it's safe to take off because I wait for the needle to drop to first move. Alright, well, we're taking off because it's about how long it usually takes for the needle to fall. But I don't need secondary intake. I mean, secondary air intake. The pump, I don't need that. That's for the catalytic converters. Dunk. Still ain't figured that noise out. It's not control arms is all I can. Other than that, I don't know what else it could be. Subframe. Everything works a lot smoother when you remember to plug in your sensors. Some clunking noise. I gotta get that looked at. I don't like the sound of that at all. Are they coming through this bitch with their brights on? No, okay. That's a common thing out here. People need their brights at all times. Somewhat miserable. And for the reasons of unknown clicking noises, that's why the tune's a tiny bit premature. I still have a few other things I definitely need to fix. I don't want to run it too hard. We ain't at hot yet. Also, it just stormed. It shifts hard, man. It's a different animal altogether. It's not the same car I had this morning. Ooh. This is very nice. I'm stuck at that train though. I'm stuck at that fucking train, but this is nice. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera down. I got a little footage. This is the first official drive after changing both the tune, ECU, TCU, as well as spark plugs.